this is where I lost last time, guys. So just saying, I'll be offended if I lose again. No, just kidding. Okay. All right. Start my timer. So this is obviously a very highly stylized, brand forward experience, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I do think that there's a lot that is left to be desired in this entire experience. Just from like a basic merchandising or even like best practices. If we go to the homepage, there's a lot of like ADA potential issues with, text bleeding into the background, or not being readable or very easily visible. So there's a lot that I would recommend that they look at. But I wanted to just really talk about how we can build trust with consumers, how we can reduce anxiety and friction and concern, and really bring those baskets to the home goal, which is obviously to place an order. So I went through and was just trying to shop the sale. And when we're looking at this, there's a lot to be desired in terms of making it obvious that you can add to cart from the list page. So it sort of looks like this could be maybe like look at more images, but it's actually the add to cart button. And when we get to the actual product display page, there's a ton of information that I just feel is not very clear. It's very focused on the imagery. Obviously, it says lace up slingback leather heels. Okay, great. Are the sizes more commonly aligned with US sizing? Should I expect that this will fit me if I fit in most standard sizes? Providing people, especially when we're selling items like clothing, with as much information to make sure that you're buying the right size is essential. So usually there will be a size guide or some sort of sizing chart that feels pretty standard when people are shopping online. And then another thing that I wanted to call out is, so for example, I went through and added my information. I added 2 items. Now, it doesn't say anywhere on the site that I could find that there's free shipping at a certain threshold, but apparently it is free shipping over $70. But it only applies for full price items. And I just find like, when we're talking about UX and dark patterns and just, not being very transparent in terms of what's required to get a certain benefit. To me as a consumer, I don't understand why I would need to pay for this. Like what is the difference if I pay $70 in sale items or $70 in a regular priced item? So I wouldn't even include this unless it was, widely shared across the site. And I would also make sure that it's very clear up front when people are going to add things to their cart. In terms of the checkout experience, another thing that I wanted to highlight is obviously this is very minimalist. It's very focused on like this clean branding, which again is fine, but it's really essential that we make sure that just basic information is readily available. So when you go to check out your 2 items, it looks like you have to create an account. And to actually check out as a guest is almost hidden. Like it just feels like it's not something that's easily viewable. And I don't like that when I'm shopping online, especially for clothing. I don't want to feel like I have to create an account. I like the option. I would even make this a check mark option when you go to to provide your shipping information and provide your email. I would just like to be able to check a box and say like, create my account right now. So it just feels like another step in the funnel that is unnecessary and also is a little misleading. And yeah, overall, I feel like the images are great. The styling is great, but just basic usability feels a little bit lacking. And that's where I would start with for this guy.
The pressure is on. So, just like Cassie was saying, I fucking hate this site. This is probably one of the worst sites I've ever seen in terms of UX, being able to navigate it. That said, Zara gets 110 million site visitors a month, according to SimilarWeb. And I always think of things in two ways. One is the source of traffic. The second is the intent of that customer. So source of traffic here probably doesn't matter because Zara is such a well-known brand. The intent's probably relatively high if somebody's coming to the Zara site. So that said, we're not going to harp too much on that, but definitely ADA nightmare right here. As you scroll, the problem is if you scroll and let's say you're not fully into this product, you're not really learning anything as you go. And by the time you get to the bottom, there is nothing there. So I mean, this is terrible. There's nothing here. You only see it on one model. In fashion, I think you want to try to see products on different models, or you want to try to get some social proof going. One example here, this is a landing page for Everlane. As soon as you get here, you've got creative at the top. You've got a headline that sort of tells you about it. You've got a CTA, you've got social proof, and you've got an offer. And then not only that, but then you also get to a point where you can actually see multiple products, and then you can see the product on different people. So different people, different sizes, different bodies. I think True Classic is another one that does a really good job of this. It lets you see the product on different people, understand how it's going to fit. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of this navigation either. I think it makes it very complex, especially if you compare it to something like this. Clothing is also something that's really done in the collections page. So the collections pages need to be good, which means that actually getting to the collections pages also needs to be easy. The problem here is these guys have sort of made it really hard to understand what is even being sold because the text is hard to read. The discounts is what's really drawing your eye after you see the image. And it just doesn't make it cohesive. There was also no pop-up here that I noticed. I was trying to see if I can load a website called Half Days. That's one that we just did in clothing. But overall, I'd give this site, I don't know, 3 out of 10. I think there's a lot to improve. There's no information on where these materials are made, where they come from, what they feel like, how do they fit. And so, yeah, I don't know if I even got any real value out there, but hopefully that helps paint a picture.
Another truly amazing round. Great job to you both, honestly. That was awesome. As a huge advocate of Zara product and whatever the complete opposite of that is for Zara's website, I feel the friction every time I go and shop this website. I don't have one locally. I'm from New York, so it used to be kind of a gift to have it in my backyard, the brick and mortar, but now I'm on that website all the time. I digress. All to say, all of these challenges that you guys have outlined, I mean, 3 out of 10, I think is generous, Nik, to be honest with you. I get very frustrated on this website very regularly. I think you both hit the nail on the head. I mean, to me, it's not just merchandising, it's all the functionality. There are so many friction points at any point of that user journey. So I think you both had amazing call outs. Cassie, I think size guide, transparency, the continue as a guest, that drives me nuts every time I even have an account. I forget that I have an account. It's just beyond. So completely agree. Nik, the vertical scroll on the PDP carousel, that gets me every time. Especially because the images, to me, if you have a breadth of images, each one of those images should share a different detail about the garment, right? So whether, to your point, it's different sizes, whether it's showing texture versus fit versus, side view, back view, especially in apparel, it's just so important. The usage of video. So show me kind of more context if you're going to make me scroll at that great length to even get to the product detail. And then to find out you don't carry my size, etc., can be very frustrating. I completely agree. You both hit it. The navigation, too incredibly complex. It's hard to even see. The yellow, honestly, is difficult from an ADA perspective to even understand where to go. The product listing page, again, I think, Cassie, you said it best on the Pura Vida site for jewelry, apparel. It's so important to nail that page. That is your shopping aisle. That is your browse aisle. That is your store. That is where the user goes to browse all of the different options. their usage of interrupters, content blocks. Nik, to your point, it's so confusing. What can you buy? What can't you buy? What's for sale? You know, why are you showing me what you're showing me? And even the way that the merchandise is categorized is pretty difficult. So I think between the two of you, you hit on, I would say, almost like 50% of how many opportunities there are, but job well done. My vote is going to go to Cassie. And the reason why is because I really think that how you kind of outlined holistic merchandise, ADA compliance, just at the top of kind of your spiel, if you will, to say like, hey, there's two like major headlines. There's a lot of details within those two headlines. To me, that really resonated because I think we could have spent, 2 more hours if we all kind of dissected the site further. So Cassie, you have my vote. But it was a hard one. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah, very complicated. I think we're all agreeing here that this website is absolutely horrendous. I've had like for years, it's a mystery to me. I mean, not really, because Zara shoppers are Zara shoppers, right? They will shop no matter what. So the website might not be great, but if you like Zara clothing, you're gonna buy Zara clothing. So all these points, they're great, best practice. Perhaps they've tested, perhaps not, but they know their users are going to buy anyway. So they, they do what they want to do. But you both hit on the ADA, which is obviously very important. They tend, I mean, Zara's a minimal, their website, but really all this yellow, it's like the pop of color is supposed to drag your attention. But if 30 things are yellow, it defeats the purpose, The different models, Nik, that you pointed out is super important. The social proof, what exactly is being sold in the PLP. It's like a bunch of models, and it's the t-shirt, pants, and shoes. And it's like, which one are you shopping? It's hard to read. Perhaps a hover over where it zooms in on the actual product that is being sold would be good. But yeah, it's very, very confusing. It is a shopping aisle. I totally agree. Cassie also mentioned the add to cart, which is, again, I also thought it was to see more images. It's an add to cart, not intuitive. Size chart is huge. I didn't see it. You mentioned it as well. As you're shopping online, you need to know what size, unless you're like a huge Zara shopper, you know your size in and out. It's still very important to know your size, because you can be a size 4 in one place and 3 in another. So it really does vary. Super important. The free shipping call out, super important. The checkout as a guest, again, I think it is a huge stressful point and an annoying thing that you have to do. But I think Zara just knows that they're going to shop anyway. They're going to finish the purchase, so they don't care. So very hard. Both of you did great points, but I think Erin and I have been on the same page throughout this whole tournament. So I do agree. I think I'll give it to Cassie just because of those small call outs that you made on the PLP, on the checkout. So congrats to both of you, but amazing job.